Okay, now for the second part of this example, I want to show you how a price ceiling or price floor can change what we saw in that last graph. So again, as always, you start off with your axes, your price, quantity, supply, and demand curves. In this case, I am going to say that we have a price ceiling at this price. What does this mean? Price ceiling means that this is the highest legal price. The government has said, for whatever reason, no matter what happens, the price in the market cannot go above this price. An example of this is rent control, which we'll just say here, that's what we're talking about. So the government says, for example, in New York, they say, okay, the market is setting rent way too high, so we're going to come in and say, this is the limit. It can't go higher than this. Anytime you have a problem with price floors or price ceilings, you're going to want to do this first and say, does this law actually make a difference in the market? In this case, if the market was left alone, we would have a price here, PE is for equilibrium, and our quantity would be here. But in this case, we have a law that says the price cannot go above this price, the price ceiling. This is the highest legal price. If the market was left alone, the price would be up here. So this is not going to be the price in the market. This is an illegal price according to the price ceiling. So what this means is that this law forces this price to be down here. So what we're going to have is we're not at equilibrium anymore. At this price, producers or apartment buildings want to supply this many apartments. And at this price, renters, people looking for apartments, want to rent this many. Okay? Both of these should make sense because of your law of supply and law of demand. So this price ceiling pushes the equilibrium price lower. Now producers are going to want to supply less. For those apartment buildings, those people that are making rents, now it's not worth their trouble to supply as many apartments as they did before because they're getting less money per apartment. For people who are looking for apartments, now it's cheaper to rent, so there are more people who want to rent an apartment. So our quantity demanded goes up, quantity supplied goes down. Okay. Now, what does this mean in terms of our consumer surplus, producer surplus, and deadweight loss? The reason I gave you those definitions before is because they apply for no matter, any type of graph that you're looking at. But what I would suggest is always look first and find which is the relevant price and quantity. We've already kind of done that for price. So we know that this is going to be the market price with this law in effect, since they cannot go to this price. Okay, here's our market price. What's our market quantity going to be? Suppliers only want to have this many apartments, but renters, there are this many renters looking for apartments. What this means is that this is the last quantity where we have both a renter and a supplier. So the quantity in the market is going to be this lower value. Now, again, something I'd recommend just to make it easier on you, once you find this quantity, go ahead and extend it all the way up to your demand curve. This will make it easier when you're looking for your consumer surplus and producer surplus. So now that we've done this, let's remember our definitions. We'll look for consumer surplus first. I'll go ahead and keep the same colors as I did in the last one. So our consumer surplus is going to be the orange area. By our definition, consumer surplus is everything below demand, above market price, which is down here, remember, and to the left of our market quantity. Okay, so this is where you want to be careful and pay attention to this relevant quantity. In your normal graphs, that won't matter, but when you start getting into price ceilings and price floors and taxes, it really makes a difference. Okay, so that orange area is our consumer surplus. Now, where is our producer surplus? Producer surplus is going to be yellow again. Producer surplus is everything above supply, below price to the left of market quantity. So we don't have a problem with this one about that quantity restriction. So here's our producer surplus, consumer surplus. Now, what about our deadweight loss? I didn't give you a definition for deadweight loss, but basically, the book gives you a definition, but a way you can think about this is surplus that has been lost. Due to this new law, there's some surplus that producers and consumers used to get that now is just gone. It's out of the market. So the way you can find deadweight loss is look at where your equilibrium would be without this price ceiling. So without the price ceiling, our quantity would be here. That means that all of this surplus, this difference between demand and supply, would have been in the market before. But now it's gone because no one is purchasing these goods, no one is selling these goods, and this surplus is just gone from the market. Okay. So this is our deadweight loss. Just for one more example, if we were to compare consumer surplus before to consumer surplus after, looking at our equilibrium price and quantity without the price ceiling, consumer surplus would have been everything under demand and everything above price. And I'll go over this with the black pen actually, that may be easier. So below our original demand curve, above our original price. So you can see consumer surplus is this squiggly triangle. This is before the price ceiling. So consumers lose this triangle when the price ceiling is placed in effect, because none of these people who used to buy an apartment, now they can't buy one anymore because of this decrease in supply, in the quantity supplied. But they're gaining this square. They're gaining this amount because now they're paying, those people who do get an apartment are paying less than they were paying before. So their consumer surplus increases. In this case, we can't really tell if consumers are better off or worse off after the price ceiling. Okay? But you can tell for sure that the producers are worse off. They have this little triangle. If you remember from our last graph, they would have had this big triangle before. So producers lose on this price ceiling. Okay. Now, I suggest you try and do the same thing using a price floor, and you should see in that case that consumers lose with no question. You can see their surplus decreases, but producers gain some and lose some. So we can't say definitely if they're gaining or losing. Okay, but that is the end of this extra video, and I will post more for other topics as they come up. Thanks.